What's up, guys? Welcome to our live. This is going to be exciting. Lauren and I today have Adriana from HereNorth Photography who's going to be joining us in just a minute. So once she joins, we're going to be going through some questions. It's going to be pretty cool. Oh, she's here. Awesome.
She's here.
All right. When Adriana joins, then we'll start with the questions.
Hello.
Hello. What's up? Wait, we can't.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello, darling.
Hello, how are you?
How are you? I miss you. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just gonna set you up. I'm gonna like prop you guys up on here.
That's all right. We cheated and used a tripod.
I was like all set to like set it up on my usual rickety, book and like napkin holder. And he's like, no, you have to come to the living room. And I was like, oh, all right.
So let's just give a little background. So for those of you who don't know, Adriana is an excellent photographer. And as a matter of fact, we actually had pictures done by Adriana quite a while ago, almost 10 years. And I was going to use them to like promote this live, but I looked so fat in those pictures that I literally could not bring myself to do it. I was probably about 35 pounds heavier at that point. So sorry, don't take it personal, but maybe we can have you do another session. And, yeah.
Yes, because I've also, my style has changed so much since then that my more recent work would be what I would necessarily want to do.
I love them. I do love them. I still love them. But yeah, Dan was chubbier. I think I was chubbier too. I might have been chubbier too. I'm not sure. So, but they are fantastic. We'll do some throwbacks this week.
And you've taken some amazing photos, which we want to get into. I actually was looking at your website yesterday to kind of like refresh my memory of some of my favorite pictures that you've taken. And I actually came across one of our old circles here on there, which was just awesome for me. So I was super excited about that. It came out as an amazing photo. But anyway, that's a whole.
He was at a wedding. He was kind of on the aisle.
Are you talking about what was his degree?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's just a great picture, but like I always like seeing people that I know in the pictures. Anyway, so do you mind if we kind of get into some questions, and then if you have some time constraints, you need to drop off, that's totally fine.
Sure, jump right in.
Okay, so you're gonna see the questions pop up on the screen. So we'll go through. Actually, you got a lot of compliments on the question sticker. Like people are big fans of yours, so let's just we'll go through those real quick, and then we'll just go on to the other ones.
Okay.
Like people are just really big fans of your work.
This stuff's amazing.
She's
The best photographers
awesome.
I know.
I was like, okay.
Exactly.
I wanted like actual questions. Okay, let's see.
I asked Dan, I was like, you want me to be on here or you want to just interview Adriana like separately? He's like, no, both of you. And I was like, she's like an incredible wedding photographer. Like, I think she should just do her own thing.
Okay, how about the etiquette of food Instagram stories? I don't really do a lot of food Instagram stories.
What does that mean? Like photos of your food and your best eats?
Yeah, I would say that if you do that, keep it minimal. But some people are super into that. Like some people absolutely love food photography.
I do not have that calling.
Same.
So, but my husband, he'll do occasional, every once in a blue he does it. But I'm not bashing it. It's just not something I'm personally into, nor do I look up pictures of food either. Unless it's a restaurant and I'm looking to see if I want to eat there.
That's a very good point.
That's actually, I feel like I use a lot of restaurants' Instagram almost like a visual menu, like because I'm not going to read the food description, but like, oh, that looks interesting. I do think that if you have a circle of friends who's really interested in food posts, just use close friends for that. Then you can post your food to your close friends, and then
yeah, I'm not a big like plate comes photographing the food thing. I think that's what that is. But I absolutely will bogart other people's photos if I'm vetting a venue or a place. Like I'm like, oh, cool, they posted 3 photos. Like, yeah, but I'm not really into that. But if you like it, then do your thing. I mean, there's settings on the cameras, on the phones.
Not here to bash it.
Yeah, man, do your thing.
Okay, so let's go with this one. iPhone camera versus first digital SLR. Now, that's actually a good question. Like, how do you know when you're ready to make the leap to a digital SLR?
I think only when you are willing to learn the manual aspects of it. I would not buy a DSLR if you're planning on doing automatic settings only. That's a waste of time. you know, the point of the DSLR would be able to be in control, kind of like, you know, learning how to stick shift. If you're planning on doing more, I don't know, planning on being a racer, then that's kind of something that you would need to know in the first place just to get a better sense of how things work. Then you would need that. Otherwise, iPhone, because I stopped bringing my DSLRs on vacation with me because they were too clunky and heavy, and I instead spent money on a mirrorless camera from Fuji that had so many ratings, and all the photographers were getting into it lately. Well, I took that thing with me, and yes, it was light, but I can tell you halfway through the trip, I stopped using it, and I used my iPhone only.
Yeah. I always say, like, yeah, for travel, we kind of found that, like, I do agree, like, I'll take the DSLRs, like, we took them to Thailand, I took both of them to Thailand, because it was Thailand, and it was, like,
I know.
you know what I mean? But a lot of trips, when we went to England, like, 2 years ago, I brought an iPhone, I brought my Samsung, I bought, a gimbal, like a cell phone gimbal that I messed around with, and, yeah, like, I just kind of, I agree with you. Like, if you're gonna commit and learn the settings, and like, you know, I've messed around with like automatic, manual, aperture priority, like all of them, and like you really do have to commit and learn it. And if you're ready to do it, then take the leap. But don't break the bank just to do it.
Yeah, and also not to interrupt, but
yeah, no.
I think people think that getting the DSLR, that their photos are going to be like blown out of the water, and that's not true. It's really it really only happens if you know what you're doing, and also the glass that you're using, the lens, you know, the lens. So don't get a DSLR that's like the starter one that just has the kit lens, because that's not really, you're not really going to see that big of a difference in quality. And iPhone is just getting better and better with like the quality. You can, I mean, I would know because I have an anniversary book, and I have printed iPhone photos to put in the anniversary book for each year. It's pretty good. Unless you're planning on blowing it up big and putting it on the wall, the iPhone is, you know, sufficient.
Which is the phone that came out? The most recent iPhone came out with how many cameras, or how many?
I think it was three.
It's like three cameras. Like,
oh, I see Alicia on here. Hi, Alicia. European presence.
I don't know how that is. Okay. I would say I'm actually kind of the opposite, because when I got a Canon M50, which is a very small, very light one, and I wanted it because, number one, I feel like for video and for sound, I was going to get a better experience with that. But my phone is almost like dead, or like it's going off in the middle of something, and I'm like, oh, this is not the right moment. So to me, like having two separate devices makes more sense. But I definitely see the appeal of, if you're just going to start out with just a beginner kit, maybe just stick with your phone until you are really ready to learn those settings. Yeah. That definitely makes sense.
I think everything in life, one of the previous times somebody put a question in the box like, oh, do I need to spend a lot of money on a camera, DSLR? And we were talking about it, and I was like, no, because you can just learn the camera that you have. Like, if you have something, like, learn to do, yeah.
Or, like, if you want to start out and learn and you want to get a DSLR, do not buy a new one. Like, go to Amazon, look at the used one, and get a used one first, and then that'll give you a sense of what you actually are looking for and what you want once you kind of learn.
1,000%.
And you can always resell that one or get different lenses for it, or something else, and figure it out.
Someone buying something.
I bought a Nikon off a friend of mine like 2 years ago. She was like shooting the moon. Like, she literally, not shoot the moon, but she was literally like shooting the moon. And she honestly was like, I got tired of doing it. I don't want to do it anymore. And I think it's a DSLR 3200. And then she had like macro lens, she had all these lenses. And I said, you know what? I was like, yeah, let me do it. And I think I picked it up off of Facebook. She put it on Facebook first, and she was like, I'm going to put it on Facebook Marketplace next. And I picked it up for a couple $100, not much of an investment. It's a great camera. And it has video settings on there that I wanted to play around with. And no shame in like absolutely positively buying a used camera that works really well.
So the moral of the story is, look for your friends who have nice cameras, who aren't going to keep them for very long, and then hit them up for one of the used.
I mean, even if they're beat up, people will still get them. I think last year I was getting rid of, the thing at the top that told you where it was, like manual or like automatic, it had popped off. That thing was still working, but it was pressed above, and somebody still took it.
Yeah, definitely. Amazon Marketplace too. If they're still doing it, I sold I think I had a D70 like I bought like 10 years ago, and I sold it a few years ago, and it was like legit some kid that like messaged me and he's like, oh, I'm taking like photo 101 and I need a DSLR, and I think he bought it like 700, maybe like 400, I think. I don't know, whatever it was, but he was happy. I was happy. I put that money to another kid. It was great.
That's right.
All right, let's go on to another question. Let's see. Dan, how do you get both photographers to agree to the photos you use? Yeah, that was getting Lauren to agree to a photo before I post it is always like a thing. So I try to post it like when she's asleep or when she's not paying attention or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Best way to learn about Lightroom. I feel like that's a heavy question. You want to start, Adriana?
Yeah, because I resisted Lightroom for a really long time, and I was literally doing everything in Photoshop, even though it took about 1,000,000 times longer to like cull and do. What I didn't like about Lightroom was I felt like I couldn't do things as individually, you know, and there were some limitations to Lightroom. But the plus of it obviously is the batch editing that makes it so much better. So like Lightroom is a learning curve.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And while starting with presets that you can try out and then tweak is probably a good idea to start there. And then if you need to do something specific, you can watch tutorials on YouTube or get from other photographers about certain things that you can. I'm pretty sure I don't even know all of what Lightroom can do.
Oh yeah, agreed.
I've seen some photographers do stuff and I was like, what on earth? I had no idea. And that's still happening, and I've been using it a couple of years.
Yeah.
Lauren's very versed in it. One of the things that I always find interesting is to like find those packs for her, like I think they're called
presets,
LUT pack or something.
Presets.
And you know, she just says like, just find me like whatever you can, and then I'll test them and see if you like them.
Lightroom, same thing. I was super resistant for a long time, and I was like, oh, like I'll do this in Photoshop exactly right, like and I don't know. And then I don't know how many years ago it was, same thing, and I just started pulling in raw images, playing raw images, knocking around with it, playing around with it, realizing that it was, you know, it reminded me of being in a dark room, you know, back in the day with like some of the settings that you did. What I couldn't understand was like I kept seeing these same almost like these filters that people were using, and I realized that they were Lightroom presets.
Yes.
And then when I started playing around with it, and then I started same thing on YouTube, like I go on YouTube and I like Cole's Classroom. Like Cole's Classroom on YouTube he's great. Like he does these real basic breakdowns of things. And I started realizing that like, oh, like these are settings, or that's like you know, this feature or that feature. And I still though when it's done, bring the photos in Photoshop. And I still do like the last edging of individual retouching. Yeah. And I know you can do like spot removal, and I know you can do certain things in Lightroom, and I love it. But I still like hold on to Photoshop for that like final like retouch.
Yeah.
And so I'm still, but I agree with you. Like I was very resistant for a long time, and I was like, oh, what is this nonsense, you know? But I do love it.
I use Photoshop now if there's things I can't, like usually I use content aware. In Photoshop, in the background if I think that they're distracting or whatever. Absolutely. Or like if there's too many things to heal, then I'll pull it into Photoshop and do. But other than that, I pretty much figured out how I want certain things to look. Like in the beginning with Lightroom, it used to really frustrate me. I'd be like, I can't get this one tone to match, but I know I can do it in Photoshop. And now I feel like I don't have that issue anymore. I've kind of figured it out with the sliders and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's you know, I took this master class a few months ago, and the instructor, we were like asking all these questions, and one of the things that we kept asking was like, how much longer do you think Adobe's going to support Lightroom? And we all kind of like held our breath, and he was like, it's him too, like, and he's like shoots for, you know, he's like got an agent and like the whole thing, and he's like, I really hope they don't get rid of it because it's a phenomenal program. And he did the exact same thing that we do. Like it was this moment of like a touchstone where he was like, yeah, he's like, well, I came from film. He's like, I shot everything film. I spent hours in dark rooms, and I was all Photoshop, and I was resistant about Lightroom. And the way he was talking about it was like everybody in the class, we were all like, oh, like, so we're not crazy for like resisting at first, but loving it now, but needing both of them. And he goes, there are absolutely positively things in Lightroom that you can knock out left and right. But you're right, like content aware, that for me a big one is like burning and dodging. I burn and dodge, like, and I'm just old school with my that mental, like having little pieces of paper burning and dodging light. And Photoshop is just clutch for that. Like it's absolutely clutch for that stuff. So yeah, I think that if you are toying around with it, then get some raw images and start messing around with Lightroom.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to the next question here. How to get noticed through IG live sessions. So I think the real trick for that one, and this is actually something I'm still figuring out and learning, but the point is to get as many people to be aware of your live before you do it, and then take that live once it's done and use it on IGTV so that people can watch it later. So you kind of like get the most out of it. So you want to prep ahead of time to get your audience aware that you're going to go live. Don't just like go live just because like, oh, I'm bored. Now let me go live. Like, no, build it up like a TV show. You don't just like start a new TV show for no reason. You're like, oh, well, in the fall, we're going to start this new TV show and it's going to be about this. And you're like, oh, that might be interesting. And then, you know, you watch more commercials. So it's the same kind of concept.
I love the idea of going back to an IG store. Like if I miss the live, because there's a live that I pop on every morning. It's like this other guy who he does, he's like a selling, oh my God. Like he teaches workshops about how to sell with weddings, like that. So he always goes live with his wife every morning, and I'm always trying to catch it, but sometimes I miss it, or sometimes I can only catch like a piece of it. So I really like that it ends up on IG Story, and I can watch it later on.
Yeah, it's it recently switched. It used to be on Stories, now it's on IGTV, which is good and bad. Like you lose some things, but it's there for much longer than 24 hours. So that's like a very recent change. Yeah, but I recommend to people that if you do this, like when I take this live and we're done, I'm gonna cut out the first 15 seconds of me and Lauren like staring at the camera, like, is Adriana there yet? Like, you cut that out because nobody wants to see that. They want to get to the good part, right? So edit that before you do it.
The cat walking there.
All right, let's go. Professional photography life during COVID in 6 words. That's a very tall order, 6 words, but I'll let you two handle that.
Please, Adriana, please.
I have 3 words.
All right.
Go ahead.
Almost non-existent. I mean, like, actually, so, like, the photography life, at least with weddings, because everybody's moving. I mean, people have been doing so many different things, and I'm, like, juggling 7 balls, trying to figure out, like, how to give attention to every single person. So that part has been, like, really challenging. Some people have decided to just have the ceremony this year. Mm-hmm. In that case, I've shot the ceremony. I actually have one this weekend that I'm going to be doing. But as of right now, it's kind of everything kind of ground to a halt. But there's still people who are inquiring and like planning ahead for next year. Like if everything's back to normal. So next year, come back to me next year when I'm.
You're booked solid. Next year, you're like.
I'm already there. I was.
No, you are.
Yeah, I was talking to a couple today, and I was like, after you guys, I can't take any more for 2021.
Yeah.
Because it's like half of them were like the chunk from this year, and then half are new ones, and then after that, there's a certain point where I'm like, how much can I feasibly do before I like burn myself to the ground?
Yeah. Tell them about your. I told Dan about your. You did the live. It was like a live. There was the Zoom session you did, and I said it was so phenomenal to hear her and a wedding planner, like an event planner, right? Allie. Her and Allie did this like incredible Zoom. That was so. I listened because I told you like I have an event that I'm trying to plan, and I just needed to hear like what is happening, and I was like, who better to default to than someone who's like, you know, planning and rearranging and weddings and stuff, and how this year you guys were spot on too with all of your information about people are like taking dates and moving them out and splitting ceremonies and splitting and making their events happen, but everyone's like trying to plan long term based on hypotheticals, so it's so difficult, you know, to do, but they're doing it.
Even this year, like the ones who are like, well, we're not going to postpone, we're going to hold out, and they're like, oh, maybe we're going to postpone, and then some of them are like, well, we decided on having a backyard wedding, and then all of a sudden being like, actually, you know what, I don't think we're going to do that. And then some coming back to me and being like, you know what, I think I do want a ceremony this year. It's like,
but it's really hard because because like your brain sort of thought like, okay, well, this is going to blow over in a few months. Like, how long could this possibly be, right? But then also you're dealing with some people who are very comfortable, like, okay, you know what, it's gonna be outside, it's gonna be under 250 people, like that's cool. And other people are like, no, like I can't leave my house still. And I'm not saying one is right or wrong, but when you're dealing with like a large group of people or family, or you don't want your nana to get sick, right? And like I think there's a lot of factors that people are still unclear on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's been like, I think the most challenging thing I found with doing that this year is being, I would imagine a therapist must feel this way, like being a support for everybody in all the stages that they're in. Like being like, no, we got this, like don't worry about it. And then as soon as I hang up the phone, I'm like, ah.
You're like, you're a flower. You're,
Yeah. So
you're gonna bloom. And then you're like, off the phone, like.
I've been, you know what? I have to count my blessings because I haven't had a cancellation. Like,
Wow, that's amazing.
they have canceled it. They're still planning on, having a wedding. They just haven't, like, they're just waiting for this whole thing before they continue with the plans.
Yeah, of course.
Nobody
Yeah.
was like, you know what, we're not doing it and this is done and we're just gonna like go to the courthouse and we don't need you as a photographer anymore. That hasn't happened.
That's awesome. No, because once, I'll be completely honest, if I booked you for, and this is no smoke, like if I booked you, I would be like, whatever we're doing, it's like based on what she's doing. You know what I mean? Like when you have to be, you trust that much and you're like, no, well, and that's like one of the, like, let's talk about it right now. Like your photographer, your videographer, these are photography, even more so the videography, and I might get shade for this, but photography is that moment in time. It's that moment in time. And like, I firmly believe that if somebody books you, and as you can see, that they're going to plan and do that. And I know how your style, and I always suggest you to people, and I'm always like, if someone asks me, because I don't shoot weddings anymore, it's not my lane, and then I always say, look, I have friends who are incredibly talented, and that is what they do with a passion, and I give them like your name. Like, I'm like, look at Adriana's style, and like two other people, and I'm like, and there's 3 different styles. And I was like, whatever your style wants to be, because I have the implicit trust in utmost your ability and your professionalism. So if you booked Adriana from HereNorth, you'd be like, the courthouse, you're coming, he's coming, and like maybe like the court official, and like that would be who you would take with you.
But you also want to
take anybody else.
I think you want to document the day though in a way that is what you want to remember. Like I don't want to have a wedding where people are wearing masks in the photos. Like I want to be able to look back on this in 20 years or 50 years and not be like, oh yeah, it was during that COVID time. Like you, and I think that.
So the photos are not going to erase your memory. You're going to still remember.
No, that's true.
And we do have like the ceremony that I have done. Some of them did wear masks the entire time, and some of them had a portion of the time and then took it off for like the. So I guess it's, yeah, I know what you're saying with that. And actually, a lot of couples have felt that same way. Some people are like, they're only going to have 15 people there, so everybody agrees not to wear a mask. I mean, I'm going to wear a mask.
True.
Come hell or high water.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I would say in that vein, like I don't think there's 6 words, but is whatever one word, be whatever they're comfortable with. Those are my 4 words right now. Because like because I know how I'm gonna wear a mask, I'm gonna wear gloves, I'm gonna do whatever needs to be done on my end. Because I don't shoot weddings, but I do like mini sessions, and I do we have the studio, and I've been really into like portraiture and like anyway, a couple different things. So the same thing, like I have, and now people have reached out, and we're doing some bookings for the rest of the summer and into the fall, and I'm basically like, whatever you are comfortable with. I prefer outside because of the situation. But yeah, I think right now is like whatever the client is comfortable with, and whatever I can do to, like you said, support them and to, make this something memorable and beautiful when there's so much chaos and there's so much uncertainty. Kind of saying the same thing. And but I'm wearing a mask, so just
Me too.
disclaimer for anybody.
All right, let's go on to the next question. How do you know if an image is good enough for Instagram? That's actually a really good question. Adriana, why don't you start off on that?
I don't know. So I'll be there taking a session. My second photographers or my assistants can attest to this. Sometimes I'll be like, as soon as the picture is taken, I'm like, That's that's the one. So I guess it's just like the composition, or if it like really, you know, the photos I'm taking are my taste, right? So I'm shooting what I think looks good. And sometimes I really love it, especially if it looks different than what I've like. I remember one time I took a photo of a couple, and there was a restaurant attached to the venue, and it had like a stained glass window. So there was light coming in, so it looked like a kaleidoscope on her. And I was like, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah. So it's just there's no like rhythm or rules that I follow to decide what I want to put on there. Obviously, there's things I want to like keep in mind as I'm sharing stuff. So sometimes I'll be like, is this a venue that I want to work at again? Is this the type of wedding I want to be like promoting, that I want to keep getting more of to shoot, like things like that. But for the most part, it's mostly just how I feel about it.
Makes sense.
Yeah, what she said.
Okay.
Basically, like there just comes a moment where I'll shoot it and I'm like, we're good. Like you have the moment, you know what I mean? You just have the moment, you're just like, you know, or I almost feel like I don't know, like I don't know. We went to Brooklyn. We went into Brooklyn one day when there was nobody there, and I took a picture of him on the bridge, and we took it, and it was like, and I was done. I was like, yeah, we're good. I've done a few things. There's just a moment in time, because you're right. You shoot like any like good photographer. Like I'm talking like somebody that you want to take your photo does that, where they're like, I'm gonna shoot it, because I think somebody hires you based on what you've done anyway. So somebody sees your style and sees your stuff, and they're like, I want that. Because there's a million and one photographers, don't get me wrong, like, and not everybody's style is gonna fit everybody's idea of what they want to do. So if you're hiring me to do it, that to me, number one, is like I value that decision. I don't think I can really verbalize how much I value that decision, and like I'm going to do it to the best of my ability to make that person look as good as possible and to make it as unique as possible. And yeah, that comes that moment, and you're just like, yeah, we're good. Like we got it, you know. And then when you're editing, sometimes you get even like a slightly higher nudge than that, where you're like, oh my God, that's the photo.
Yes.
Like,
All right, let's go to I think we have one more question, and then what are you listening to while editing these days? Lauren, you want to start?
oh man, I'm really into this band called The Regrets from California for about a year. There's two bands called Regrets. This one is like mostly is one guy and like three girls. I really, really like their stuff. And recently Spotify has become part of my daily life. Like we had music services for a while, and we kept like messing around with like which ones we wanted, but Spotify has definitely become the leader, because they will predict what I want to listen to based on what I have listened to. And like that's some good stuff. So I just found a song by Ben Lee that I really like, and I think Zoe Deschanel is singing on it. It's actually like, as I'm listening to it, I'm like, that sounds like New Girl. So that's really good. The Hamilton soundtrack, Hamilton mixtape. Anybody that knows me, that's been about 5 years running. Anything Lin-Manuel Miranda does, kind of like,
been 5 years,
I know.
yeah.
Anything Lin does, I'm like right there with, actually, and his whole team, David Diggs, Anthony Ramos, it's not name Diggs, you know, any of those.
Saying that thing about Hamilton, I see Darby's on here, and I'm pretty sure she's like a mega Hamilton fan, I want to say. So Darby, I'm here for you. Or Lauren is, because what I listen to is nothing. Silence.
You don't do anything, get out of here.
I don't even think of it. I'm so like into what I'm doing that I don't think to play music. Even ask Chris, because he can attest.
You just silence?
Yeah, nothing.
Not podcast, nothing.
No, if I try to do a podcast, I can't pay attention to what's being said, because I'm so like in the vortex of the photos.
Wow.
No TV shows, nothing?
And I could be stuck in there for like hours.
Oh yeah, I will lose hours. Yeah, I absolutely lose hours. That is so interesting. So what do you just like, so you're perfectly good with with the silence?
With silence.
That's so cool.
I mean, I hear like the lawnmowers outside.
Oh,
like that
yeah, of course, yeah.
Obviously, I mean, I listen to music in the car. It's really hard for me, you know, in my 20s, I used to be all about like, oh yeah, like show me all the music, and I wanted to hear it all. And then at some point I got comfortable with all the music I've always listened to from
Yeah.
like the 90s and
Oh
the
yeah.
2000s to like introduce somebody new, I have to really like them.
Right. Right. I do
And
agree with that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and actually like on the Peloton when I'm doing the rides,
Oh
like
yeah, yeah. That's awesome.
when I like a song, I just heart it and it creates a list for me in Spotify.
That's cool. Oh, that's cool.
Wait, Peloton has Spotify
Oh yeah.
integration?
Yeah.
How long do you have, wait, I didn't know we could ask you questions about Peloton. How long have you had that?
I've had Peloton. I ordered it in April and then it came in May.
Did you have I was thinking about you today. It's so weird you said that. You had the bike set up first, right? We were like talking about how you had like
Yeah. Okay. So
yeah.
faster. Most
You were like, she
sensor.
had the bike set up, and I was messaging her like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then it was like a few weeks, and you're like, I did it. I bought a Peloton.
Wait, what did you have
Because
before?
like I tried to do like you could do the Peloton on the app and like do the rides, but then have the actual bike. So the bike was set up to a bike trainer, which basically causes resistance on the back wheel.
Yeah, I know what
And
you're
it's
talking about.
stationary, and you can get a sensor, but like you couldn't get your stats. I couldn't stand up on the bike, so I couldn't get into second or third position because I couldn't
Oh,
get the go. So
got
that
it.
was like the biggest thing for me. And then I was like, forget it. I'm just gonna whatever. I'll just do Peloton, and I have been like because Peloton does the bike rides, the cycling, but it also does strength training, and it does running, and it does like all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm like, constantly doing exercises. They're not always on the bike.
Lauren's brother has it, and he swears by it.
I want one.
And
Yeah,
every time I'm like,
totally want one.
bro, how you doing with that Peloton? He's like, I love it.
Yeah,
I
he
love
loves
it. Like,
it. Yeah, we're
that's
always
all he
like, I'm
says.
coming over to go on the Peloton. No, like I just had some like I'm changing my gym and stuff like that, and I think like the Peloton thing. I'm always like on their site, like looking at different things, and but the music thing, I have to tell you, I agree with you 1,000%. Like I'm so set in songs and artists that I love and I've loved for a long time that it really has to be something that catches my attention that
That's right.
I will now invite into my friendships, basically. Like because you build like a trust and I know I'm talking about music, but a trust and camaraderie with like artists and bands and lyrics and stuff. So it has to be something that's really, yeah, like you really bring in and you're like, oh, I like that. I like how that's being done or whatever.
Not me.
Spotify is very good for that.
Not me. Like, I feel like when you start listening to one era of music or something like that, like, that's it. It's basically over for you. Like, I'm like churning. I'm like a machine. Like, keep giving me new so I can keep learning new stuff because I want to hear everything, you know?
No, I mean,
Not me, yeah.
my little, whatever I could listen to. The recent one, I hate to, I don't even know if I want to say this because
You're among
on the
friends.
radio. She's on the radio, and I was so against it originally. But then I went, at the time I was signed up for Cycle Bar, and the instructor there did a theme ride that was Billy versus Billy. So it was Billy, not Billy Idol. Who's the other one that was from like the
Billie Eilish?
Billy Joel, Billy Idol.
Billy Joel.
Billy Joel.
It was Billy Joel music versus Billie Eilish music during the ride. And I found out that I really liked Billie Eilish stuff to ride to. And since then, I've been really into her. But I try to tell other people, and they're like not with it. I don't understand.
I fought it for a little. Yeah, same. No, I fought it because I was like, this girl's like, what is this auto tune? She's like 16 years old. But then same thing, like that song Blue Eyes, Ocean Blue Eyes. I think. Oh my God. Oh, it's incredible. And it's like her and her brother, and and then I got like, of course I have to do the deep dive into like, where are they? Who are they? Do they write? Do they produce? And now I'm like, she's so cool with her lime green hair and her Gucci nails.
Well, so I don't like her style. And also, I cannot stand to watch any interviews of her because she's so young and she doesn't, I don't know, she's not good at articulating any of her thoughts. But then the music is good. So
the music's really good.
So I just don't watch, like, we even watch Hot Ones. Do you know that show?
Yeah.
It's like when the guy interviews celebrities or whatever, and it's like they eat hot wings while he's doing the interview.
Yeah.
And the hot wings get hotter and hotter. So she was on it. I couldn't even finish the episode because I was like, "Oh God, shut this."
Some of them are like, just stick to music. Like, don't talk as much. Just focus on what you're good at. Just do the songwriting, not so much on the talking.
You can go make your music in the bedroom. Don't let me see too much of your personal life.
Adriana, this has been awesome.
Yeah,
we don't want to take
buddy.
up all your night, but thank you so much for going live with us. This was a blast.
No problem. I had a good time.
So Christy said hi. So
Yeah, say hi to Chris.
And Remy.
I will. He's cooking. I don't want to stop him.
Oh, okay, yeah. No,
oh, yeah, keep cooking. We'll send you a Tupperware, Chris. Thanks, man.
Okay. I'll see you.
Bye, babe. See you later.
Bye.